Hi, air signs. Welcome to Eight of Cups Tarot. Big apologies. I really had every intention to do a mid-month love reading for every sign, but you know, life sort of happened, which I think has been a theme for a lot of people lately. Things got really busy, and then I got really run down, and now here I am with the flu. So, bear with me. I kind of had to condense this into 4 readings by the elements, but they're really thorough readings. They're actually quite deep, and I think that they're capturing a lot of the energies that we're feeling at this time, which is nice. We have a lot going on with the planets this end of February, and March is an absolute roller coaster, but so much progress towards, our new lives, which is what we're building right now. I think we did a lot of work with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. I think we did a lot of releasing and letting go, and my air signs especially. This was a 12th house transit for my Aquarius, 8th house for my Gemini. You guys, we've all been through, we're all rapidly changing in a lot of areas. So, Libra, this is your 4th house. These are big angles in your chart that have been affected, and it wasn't, a trine or a sextile to you. These were squares. These were a lot of lessons that you had to learn. And so now we take that wisdom and we move on and we make new choices and we build new opportunities. And that's where we're at. But there's a very interesting energy going on here, because we have so much action. On Sunday, Mars moves into Capricorn, and it's going to trigger almost all of the outer planets. It's going to trigger Uranus, and then Jupiter, the South Node, Pluto, then Saturn. So we're going to be readjusting to some of the areas that got hit on our chart around the January 12th conjunction and the eclipses surrounding that as well. So those things are coming up for review. We're getting a chance to fix certain situations, but at the same time, it is retrograde Mercury, and we all know what that means. That's revisiting the past. That is the reconciling, the cleaning up of the projects, the finishing, getting things out the door, finalizing things. But being in Pisces, it's extremely emotional, and being so close to Neptune, it's extremely confusing. I think we're all faced with this. We have to move, we have to make the big life changes, we have to get things going, yet there's that feeling that it's not quite time yet. There's maybe another lesson or something that has to be worked out before we can move on. Often this is a revisiting of our past, and a lot of maybe exes can come into play here. Our, big decisions in our relationship. Should we stay or should we go? Is there room for growth, or do we just cut this off and move on? These are a lot of themes that are going on with when these outer planets are triggered, along with the personal planets in our lives. So I pulled some cards for you, and I actually had to pull a few extra because it was extremely confusing. Much like a typical air sign reading, you guys definitely make me work. But I think I understand the energy here, and it's actually really, at the end of the day, what you guys are working through is really cathartic, and it's a really important lesson in your life, especially for an air sign, because it really is all about the power of your thoughts. It really is how you allow your thoughts to determine your future and your opportunities, and how they affect it so deeply. I apologize, I'm going to be taking sips of my hot tea throughout this reading because my voice is not so cooperative today. Okay, so getting started. Now remember, I pulled some cards, and this is how I consider it to be. This is my air signs, and this is their partner. If I pick up on one being particularly dominant in masculine or dominant in feminine, I will say so, but I don't actually in this reading, so these energies can very well be vice versa, so just pick whichever side you're relating to, and you could assume this is sort of what your partner's going through. Please note that if this doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. Don't make it work, don't make it fit, don't jump to conclusions. You know, this is just what Spirit wanted me to get through, the message that people needed at this time. So starting first two cards out were really interesting, air signs, because you got the King of Pentacles upright, but the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So let's talk about that. I'm picking up on this energy, this very specific energy of where you have very carefully and very responsibly planned for your future, for setting the foundation, setting the goals, knowing exactly what you want and exactly what you need to do to get there. And it's a lot about being willing to make the hard decisions. It's about not allowing anything to threaten this foundation. You see, this person has this entire castle, this kingdom, this beautiful fantasy world behind him that he has to sort of protect, you know, and I think his investments are always towards this fantasy, this goal in their mind of what the big picture is. But accompanied by a Queen of Pentacles in reverse that tells me that there is an imbalance here. That this person is probably, or you are probably starting to realize that by focusing so much on maybe the financial and material foundations or the kind of social status type situation that you wanted, you know, this is putting a lot of pressure on other people, that King of Pentacles. And, you know, I feel like this is people not living up to your standards, maybe having to understand disappointments in that area. But the Queen of Pentacles also tells me that you're not allowing yourself to receive maybe the emotional components that comes with that foundation. Maybe not recognizing that there is a feminine aspect to the building of a future, to the building, you know, there is a meeting of the emotional needs. There is somebody, you know, you might have someone that looks really great on paper, but are they nurturing? Do they love you? Do you feel truly understood and cared for and protected? Are you able to be vulnerable with these people? This is a time for you to be able to balance this. There's an opportunity here in which you could have all of the things. You could have the foundations and the dreams coming true. But you could also allow yourself to receive sort of that unconditional love and the nurturing and the respect. Your person is coming off as detached. We have the Death card in reverse and the Hermit. So I feel like there's a part of them that is refusing to transform a situation. Maybe there is a part of them that is unwilling to forgive the past and move on, you know. Endings and beginnings with my death card. This could be someone who maybe there's been some issues and you both work through it and you said, okay, let's continue, let's invest. But this person doesn't seem to want to let go of the past. So it's like saying that I forgive you, but then maybe continually bringing up the past situations and putting them in your face. So there's almost a lack of forgiveness I'm seeing in that death card in reverse. And along with the Hermit, it tells me that they are not being emotionally available. They're kind of going within, they're kind of detaching themselves from you, which is a lot of reflection on that Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Like I said, there is a lack of nurturing, a lack of love here. Now, I don't know if it's so much a lack of love as a building of boundaries out of fear. And here's why I say that. Your overall take on the situation is the Three of Cups in reverse. So it feels like maybe there is a lack of, there's a lack of connection, a lack of friendship, a lack of fun in this relationship. There's, you know, I feel with all the pentacles there, I feel like everything is very serious right now for the air sign energy. And I think maybe you've been working so hard to get things right and to set things straight and to create those foundations that you've sort of forgotten how to let loose and have fun and bring an element of friendship back into this connection. And it's making it extremely hard if you're working on some form of a reconciliation or coming back together or reaching a level of forgiveness. I feel like you're not seeing that potential right now. Now, I don't want to tell you you're not going to reconcile with this person or it's not going to work out, because I think at this point there's a crossroads, and I think some of you are going to decide you really want to work at it. And I think some of you are going to decide it's not for you and walk away. But it is not important actually what the outcome of the situation is. The lesson is in the situation. On their end, overall, is the King of Swords in reverse. So I think this person is somewhat just, I see dishonesty with the King of Swords in reverse. But I think that it's not towards you, air signs. I think it's towards themselves. I think there is a lack of being able to see the situation for what it is. I think that maybe this person can come off as somewhat mouthy, somewhat, you know, stabbing with their words. There's an irresponsibility to how they actually make you feel. There could be a lot of harshness coming from this person, and that King of Swords speaks to me of resentment, of the building resentments that become so apparent in the day-to-day life, how the words that they use and the actions that they take, or the coldness, it could be a coping mechanism to protect themselves, but ultimately, in the end, it hurts you. And the overall energy, bottom of the deck, is the Ten of Swords in reverse. So Again, I feel like there is a lack of letting go here. If there was a mistake that was made, if there was a miscommunication or something where it was agreed that you would forgive and move on, again, I feel like there's an energy here where it just keeps getting brought back up. And it's causing a lot of conflict. Now, it's funny because I don't see a Five of Swords. I don't see a conflict. I don't see wands. I don't see fighting energy. So it's inner conflict for both of you. And it's actually, quite honestly, if there are words between you, they don't feel gentle. They don't feel loving. They don't feel like they come from a place of compassion or positivity. And then, quite honestly, there could be absolutely a lack of communication and connection altogether here. Overall, I feel a coldness. So this is why I had to dip into this situation a little bit to understand, because I'm not sure why an energy that feels very mismatched and uneven and maybe where it should be put to rest, where the inability to walk away lies. What is the lesson in this? So the cards that came up, as I clarified on another Rider-Waite deck, which, by the way, is and was my very first tarot deck when I was 14 years old, and I love this. It's very dear to me, so these cards I use on very special occasions. I got the Death card in reverse, or upright this time. So there is a need in this situation for an ending. Does that mean the relationship has to end? Absolutely not. The Death card is simply a transformation. It is the letting go of how things once were so that the new thing can emerge from it. I feel like as I look at this card and things jump out at me, it is the allowing of the emotion into the situation. And I'm getting that actually off of a lot of these cards. There is a lot of lack of emotion, and I don't think it's due to a lack of emotion between you two. I think it is a lack of vulnerability between you two. I see a connection. I see respect. I see potential. And I see it being really tied up in a lot of anxiety and inner conflict and the way that thoughts are being handled here. Five of Swords in reverse. That's a great card to have in reverse because it tells me that to get to the heart of this matter, the conflict, the resentment, the fighting has to stop. It has to stop because that's what's keeping you trapped. And once the fighting stops, the resentment, the thought processes, the self-limiting beliefs, then we could I don't want to say walk away because I don't see that all of my air signs are walking away from this. But I think there's something going on here. There's a stuck energy between the two of you in which as soon as you step up and become emotionally vulnerable to your person, that will tear the walls down. It will, where you feel imprisoned, it will bring you freedom. There's emotional truth and freedom. And these cards were clarified by the Magician and the Eight of Cups. So yes, you could be walking away from this. You could be realizing that this situation is not it is not this situation. It's not ever going to be that beautiful image that you had in your mind. It's not going to fit this bigger picture plan that my air signs had. And that they realize that there's potential for so much more. This could be the willingness to walk away from this in order to create the destiny that you deserve. And I say that because I also got that 11th house and a trine. Blessings. So getting back to one of the factors that I think is really harming this connection is that there seems to be a lack of fun. There seems to be a lack of connection. The ability to just be friends. There's a lack of friendship and happiness and joy and celebration between you two. And I think that that is affecting you quite a bit. And I think that maybe, you know, the 11th house is the house of friends, associations, groups of people. And the card of blessings, that maybe there is somebody else, maybe somebody that is in the friend zone right now that you're considering, that's crossing your mind in a way, bringing back this nostalgia of kind of everything that this situation isn't. Okay. The 11th house can also be, quite honestly, the house of your wishes coming true. So, that's a pretty beautiful thing, because if you're focusing and you're manifesting the things that you really want, this is Spirit confirming that your thoughts are exactly what you're creating right now. So you have to do this work. You have to get unstuck. You have to get vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to have fun. You have to allow yourself the connections that are good for you, that are nurturing for you. It's not just about looking good on paper. It is about the feeling of belonging, that feeling of being home in somebody, and how important that is for your happiness. And how when you have a connection, when you come at a connection in a way where you are fulfilled, and then you attract another person who is also fulfilled, there's a powerhouse here, because then those two fulfilled people, they continue to add to this abundance of beautiful feelings and fertility. And this is where all of the dreams start to come true. This is where all of the hopes and wishes become the reality. But when you have two unfulfilled people and they're clashing with each other over whether it is their fault or, you know, this speaks to me a lot of the codependency, where one or both of you feels like you should be responsible for the other person's emotional stability, and that's just ridiculous. No one else can make you happy, and nor are you responsible for anyone else's happiness. So if there is a situation where you feel like you can't say the things, or you have to walk on eggshells, there's a fear of always upsetting your partner, then this is just simply not going to work for you. You should be able to be yourself. Absolutely. You should be able to be vulnerable. You shouldn't be afraid to say or do the things or be who you are in this connection. And neither should they. Because what happens is then you begin to keep score of all of the times that you have disappointed each other. And every chance you get, a communication, a sentence, or a word is dropped to remind you of how disappointing you are. This creates an environment of of lack of emotional connection and support, of lack of friendship and belonging. Now the animal spirit card my air signs got. I'm going to take another sip of tea. I'm so sorry. Thank you for your patience today. And I know my voice sounds terrible. You got the starfish. Beautiful, alluring, superficial, or shallow. The starfish is a natural and exquisite beauty, mesmerizing to all. Being around someone with starfish energy is a thrill, like you've been put under a spell of divinity itself. The problem is these creatures have been reliant on how they look and what other people think of them for so long that they may have forgotten their deeper callings. When this card appears, it's important to ask, am I swayed by outward appearances? What dreams have I put aside to please others? When in balance, uplifting, artistic, and expressive, but when out of balance, gossips and feels empty. To bring into balance, positive friends. So that goes right along with what I'm saying. There's an area of being unfulfilled within yourself here, air signs, and I think it comes from a lack of the emotional connection. You know, that maybe you are looking for a person, or you're in a situation with a person for some of the wrong reasons, and you're starting to realize that it's taking a toll on you. Your partner got the camel. Resourceful, independent, and knows one's self. The camel can handle absolutely anything, as it carries a wealth of nourishment within. This wondrous creature is self-reliant and handles challenge with ease, even in the face of excess heat, judgment, or anger. The camel searches inside for a cool elixir of water to calm the situation. The camel represents the ultimate form of bringing opposites into balance, fire and water, and being responsible for one's own reactions. The camel is a wonderful traveler and is especially fond of trips to faraway lands. When in balance, they are calm, content, and have a sparkle in their eye, but when out of balance, they are dehydrated and lacks vitality. And to bring into balance, a pilgrimage. Now that energy, again, I'm seeing in my in your partners is that, you know, there's a feeling of independence and separateness, a feeling that this person can go a very long time without love and affection and all of the good stuff. And I feel, again, a coldness coming from here. There's such a fierce independence in this person. You know, I didn't even give you these cards. Mercury and Aries. So Venus is in Aries right now. Mercury is in it's in Marmalade right now. But you know, this tells me that this person, again, is cold and rash, and there's very little warmth. They're very outspoken. I'm picking up a judgmental tone. I just don't feel a whole lot of emotion coming from this person. And there's a level of coldness that I get here that's creating, you know, a real level of discontent on your end. Now, bottom of the animal spirit deck, I got the elk. So let's take a look at that. stable, resilient, headstrong, the father. The great elk represents the earth element in its masculine form. This means it provides underlying support and stability amidst life's many changes. An elk personality, whether male or female, is fully established in themselves and knows their core values. They become known and respected for acting in ways that uphold those values. Sometimes the elk's ego can become inflated, but for the most part, they make damn good fathers, mothers, lovers, and friends. The world needs more elk energy. So when in balance, they are supportive and kind, and when out of balance, they are pretentious, high, and mighty. And to bring into balance, eat and drink more consciously. Maybe that helps for some of you. But what I get from this situation here is that, again, it's highlighting that need for there to be a connection on all levels. A very balanced connection, and that whether or not this can be healed, I think it could be. I think this could be worked on if given the correct foundations. You know, again, I see this blessings coming through. So if you decide that this is the person you want and you want to work this out overall, that's very possible. But you may decide to let this go as well, because maybe there's someone else coming in, and maybe you're sensing that. Maybe there's an opportunity with someone else that's going to free you from this kind of emotional oppression. But I think either way, there's a great need for some emotional connection here within your situation altogether. I think you're starting to realize after a long time of focusing on, you know, the foundations and the financial situations and the stability and reliability factors, how important that passion and that love, that forgiveness factor, that acceptance factor. You know, and my air signs are always so very unique in all of your ways. And to have somebody that could understand you, you know, especially my Aquarius and my Geminis, I mean, you guys are known to be pretty weird, right? In such a great way. And if you're not comfortable, you know, airing that weirdness out in public, you should work on that, because it really truly makes you who you are. It's your charm. You know, but if you're in a situation where a partner is not accepting of that, or makes you feel like you have to dim your light, kind of, you know, that's not a healthy situation. And there's more out there. There's better opportunities. And I think that at the end of the day, you have to be brave enough to go after what you want and what you need and what you deserve. And that there's nothing in this lifetime that should make you feel tied down. That no matter what anyone's told you growing up, or, you know, whatever lessons you've learned, when a relationship doesn't work, it's okay to walk away. When a person doesn't treat you the way that you deserve, it's okay to walk away. It's okay to move on. It does not mean that you are a failure. It does not mean that they are a failure. It does not even mean that they are bad people. It just simply didn't work. And usually that's because something much different is supposed to happen for you. And so you really have to take out this personal bondage that you have to this situation. You know, I feel a great sense of responsibility coming from my air signs, like how I've made promises and I don't want to let anyone down. But now is the time to really let that go and to really focus on your nurturing and your needs and what you require for your happiness. and allow this person to go and find the things that they require as well, because most likely this is a very lovely person. And if things have happened and forgiveness is hard to come by, then you just simply walk away with grace and thank you for the experience and the focus on the gratitude for what you took from it. And you stop looking at it as a waste of time. You stop looking at it as a resentment, and you start to appreciate it for what you learned and for the new opportunities that can come once you fully walk away from it. All right, one more quick thing. Air signs, I also bought this funny deck for Valentine's Day, just because I don't always want it to be like so heavy, you know. I mean, my favorite thing about love, my favorite thing about relationships is the easiness, you know, the joking around with each other and the laughter that happens between two people. And so I wanted to pick up some cards that could really, you know, these are very sarcastic, but let's see if Spirit has a card for your particular situation. And it may not make sense at all, but sometimes it does. Interrupting is for assholes. Now, I really think that goes hand in hand with this, right? Because this is someone that keeps talking and doesn't listen. Let them fucking finish. All right, so air signs. Maybe a little less talking from you. Or maybe letting them know. I really think it might be them. You know, that you have a right to be heard. That you can't just continue to take maybe a verbally abusive or attacking situation over and over again, and they never really let you talk or speak. Again, and there's no sharing of emotions, so this is probably a pretty wicked cycle that needs to conclude one way or another. All right, Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra, I am wishing you the best. I will be catching very soon. I will be gone for about a week. I'm going to see my son graduate boot camp in a few days. So that's really exciting. And then I'll be back and I'll be getting you your March readings. I can't believe it's March already. All right, sending you so much love and happiness. Bye.